Hi, I'm Hejnewar, and today I wanted to talk about why Adept is OP, why there is no need to nerf Adept, and why Undead are in the end badly designed. So let's get right into it. Explaining why Adept is so good in multiplayer matches is quite easy. Just comparing it with other good unit that is Mage is enough to showcase strength of an Adept. Mage has 1 more ranged damage and 5 more melee damage, while Adept has 4 more HP and costs 4 less gold. Even from that I can tell that Adept is much better than Mage. I would even say OP. But the story doesn't end there. Why such OP unit is still fine and was not nerfed? To answer that we have to delve a little deeper into the faction that Adept is in, the Undead. And what appears to be noticeable is that Undead don't have any level 1 scout, and only 5 level 1 units in total. But let's start with 0 level units and why having the only 8 MP scout as 0 level is problematic. And the reason for that is the main difference between level 1 and level 0 units. Level 0 units don't pay upkeep, and because of that, the gold spent on 0 level unit is less efficient. You're effectively getting less stats for the cost than the same amount spent on the level 1 unit. But in the long run, level 0 unit can often be better because you don't have to continuously pay that 1 upkeep for it. This is the form of balance between these two. But if we look at standard gameplay of high level players, what will be noticeable is that level 0 units are usually not played early on unless they are necessary, and this is exactly the case here. But it's often necessary because otherwise you will be missing out on faster village grabs and subsequently gold that comes with that. But let's return to the reason why level 0 units are not used early on, and the first reason is that support that villages provide basically makes the benefit of 0 level units not there, unless you reach its cap, and the second reason is that you usually either rush or are rushed, and in both cases you want to have as much strength or momentum as possible, and level 0 units provide value over time but not tempo. This is the first reason why Adept is allowed to stay as overpowered unit. It is sort of compensation for this early loss of tempo. Let's take a look at the second reason, and for that let's switch the focus to the level 1 units. So we have skeletons, ghosts, ghouls, and of course earlier showcased Adept. So let's take a look at them, and what is noticeable is that all have pretty similar strengths and weaknesses. Only Adept is a little bit different and has no strengths or weaknesses when it comes to resistances. Skeletons and ghouls are all more vulnerable to impact and fire than to pierce and cold. Ghost is still vulnerable to fire. Arcane resistance is not very important as only Adept Ghost and few other leaders have this type of attack. Furthermore, Ghoul doesn't fit the playstyle of its faction. Undead rush and are aggressive, while Ghoul would like to be defensive and sit on the village. Ghouls would be good units in Knalgan Alliance army, where it would be good help against orcs, but in Undead case, if you get the ghouls you might be able to survive a little bit longer, but at the cost of strength of your future attacks, and if your attacks are weaker, enemy will simply have more force to attack you back next time. Sure, you might get more ghouls to survive a little while longer again, but in the end you will be locked in the cycle of defending, and this is as good as losing really. And this point ties into why I think Undead are not well designed. They don't really have choices. You get Bat and Ghost, and after that Adept, and either completely depending on matchup skeletons or skeleton archers. Ghoul doesn't fit this faction, and Zombie is good but pretty situational. I know that people will probably defend Undead, but what for them is original for me is simply lack of choice to do things differently. As it currently stands, you are often much better off retreating a bit deeper than holding the ground, but if you had something that would be good at defending and could still support your next attack, wouldn't this be only an option? You can still do everything like it was, but now you have additional option. And this is what I think is really important, having multiple choices, decisions and alternatives. And Undead as a faction doesn't have multiple choices when it comes to big sources of damage, when it comes to how do they want to play really. They have only one big source of blade damage, one big source of pierce damage. Even if type is repeated, it usually is on a very small attack, and this doesn't really give a lot of room to decide which unit is actually best for the current situation, because usually there is only one choice. Well, that is it for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, consider subscribing. I will see you next time. Cheers!